Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kurt Berman, CEO of Rope Swing Hospitality Group, right here in Bentonville, Arkansas. And I'm really excited to be moderating the sixth event in the Northwest Arkansas Council's You Love speaker series. This is a 10-part free series that focuses on points of passion. And we continue to explore topics across art, music, culture, outdoor exploration, and culinary experiences in the NWA region. Today's discussion, which I'm particularly excited about, is called You Love Cuisine, Breweries and Roasteries Raising the Bar, which is quite a mouthful, quite hoppy. And this focuses on the relationship and similarities between coffee and beer. I'm super thrilled because we have an exciting group of panelists today. Let me introduce myself very quickly. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the CEO of Rope Swing Hospitality Group. We are ever-growing, developing company here in Northwest Arkansas, part of the amazing community of people that are working and living here. We own and operate a number of restaurants and bars and event spaces and even a private members club. And our focus is really on trying to create fantastic spaces for people to connect. And what better way to connect than with coffee and beer? And for me, I cannot start the day without a fantastic cup of coffee in the morning. And unfortunately, I don't get to spend as much time finishing the day with a great beer at the end of the day, but I certainly put in an effort to do that. Well, before we start the discussion, I'm going to introduce our guest speakers today. And I want to start with Andrea Allen. Andrea is the co-owner of Onyx Coffee Lab, also here in Northwest Arkansas. Andrea works with her husband, John, and is a proud mom of two beautiful girls. She's been working in the industry since 2002, where she began as a barista. And as of about 6 years ago, Andrea started competing in the US Barista Championships. And we are extremely proud to share that she is the current reigning US Barista Champion for 2020. Also on the line, we have Andy Coates. Andy is the co-founder and owner of Ozark Beer Company. Andy began in the brewing industry in 2006 in Denver at the Great Divide Brewing Company, working on the packaging line. Shortly thereafter, he attended the American Brewers Guild in Vermont, following an apprenticeship at Goose Island Beer Company in Chicago, where he was promoted to brewer. Andy leads a fantastic team that consistently brews award-winning and nationally recognized beers. And as Ozark Beer Company enters its 8th year, the company is the second largest producer of beer in Arkansas, as well as the largest family-owned brewery in the state, which is pretty amazing. And then from across the pond, we're also inviting or welcoming Fergal Murray. Fergal's joining us from Dublin. Fergal's career as the Guinness Master Brewer has given him an extraordinary depth and breadth of knowledge in which he now shares and gives back to the next generation of brewers and artisans. Fergal's journey has taken him across the globe, securing a renowned reputation as a master brewer, and we are very lucky to have him on the call with us today. This global brewing expertise has positioned Fergal as the Guinness Global Brand Ambassador, and his reputation has continued to grow. Fergal now operates as a global consultant in the beverage industry, offering support and advice to the craft brewing and beverage world, including things like beer collaborations, designing new brands, supporting strategies, being a mentor, and hopefully getting to enjoy some beer in his spare time when he has that. And then finally, we're also very excited to welcome Bill Kowaleski. Bill is joining us from Pennsylvania. Bill is the founder and brewmaster at Victory Brewing Company, where he also plays a creative and a very pivotal role in leading the overall growth strategy for Victory. Bill serves as the creative muse and guide for all Victory beer brands and culinary collaborations, as well as the driving force behind community engagements. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a sec. Great. I think that's everyone. Thank you all for being here. And let's get started. So Andrea, I'm going to start with you. You've created a fantastic coffee empire here in Northwest Arkansas. Onyx is very well known and spoken of with a lot of pride and supported very loyally in Northwest Arkansas. But you really are well known for your high quality beans as well as your roasting methods. What has it been like building a business in this region, and how has the community played a role in that?
Building a business in Northwest Arkansas, and particularly our business, has been really interesting because really we are kind of almost like two businesses in one. And so part of our business is our retail coffee shop footprint in Northwest Arkansas, which if you're from Northwest Arkansas, that's probably mostly how you know us. And then the other part of our business is selling coffee to high-end cafes across the country and across the world. One of the things I highly observe about the Northwest Arkansas community is just that we're very local focused. People want to experience what their neighbors and friends are building. And there's also like a real hunger around here for food, for beverage, and people just like looking for experiences, which has been super cool. I was born in Springdale. I live like 3 miles from where I grew up, so this area has changed immensely in that time. And then, the other part of our arm, the wholesale, and the more coffee industry focused side, it's been really simple to grow out of Northwest Arkansas in that way. And just like Kurt mentioned, me being involved in competitions and things like that, and that's kind of the other way that we grew our arm. And so just being really supported by our local community in that has been amazing.
But when people think of Arkansas, I don't think they necessarily think of Arkansas as a strong coffee culture, and Onyx is obviously leading the charge in that. Is that strategic? Have you focused on that as part of your overall strategy? And how is Onyx really leading that charge to put Arkansas on the map?
In the beginning, I was just like cold calling cafes, in San Francisco and Manhattan, and being like, hey, we're this new roaster, we have really great coffee. And like, oh, we haven't heard from you. Where are you from? And it's like, oh, I'm from Arkansas. And they're like, oh, really? Like, is there coffee in Arkansas? I was like, yeah, totally. Would you like to try some of the coffee? And they're like, no, that's okay. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just, I'm going to ship it to you for free. It's like, it's no pressure. It's like a gift. They're like, no, we're good. It's okay. And I was like, okay, great. There's great stories about traveling in Central and South America and telling producers where we're from, and they're like, oh, okay, is that like right just south of Mexico? Is that where that is? Like, oh no, it's in the States. But it's just really funny because people don't really think of Arkansas outside of Walmart being like, no, there is high quality, really great craftsmanship going on in Arkansas and really leading nationally, which has been an amazing thing to be a part of.
You've done a couple of collaborations with breweries, pairing coffee with beer. Which of these has been the most surprising for you?
One of the surprising things that happens is that we periodically just like get tagged from breweries that are like, oh, we're doing this thing, and we're like, oh, are we? At this point, folks are kind of just ordering coffee off of our website or picking it up at their local cafe and then doing really fun stuff with it. Being a small family business, John and I are the sole owners in Onyx. Like, we've built everything with our own hands, and so I just would have never dreamed of that. Even just a few years ago.
Well, we also have Andy on the call, of course, with Ozark right across the road from you. So tell us more about the relationship with Ozark.
I had heard of him and Lacey before we even met them. I mean, he has a great reputation, and it's just really cool to have other people in our community that are really like hungering after like high quality and hungering to create new things that other people are not doing, to have really specific channels that they want to go in. And one of the things I really respect about Ozark is that they have like a really specific model of business, and they like are chasing after that. Hearing Andy and Lacey talk over the years about what they're doing and what they want to do, I mean, it just really stirs my own like desires and passions and ambition. We got the chance to start collaborating on the coffee stout with them a little while ago, and it's just such a straightforward partnership that really has been beneficial for both of us. The collaborations that happen between us, both intentionally and unintentionally, has been really incredible.
Andy, do you agree with that?
Definitely. No. As Andrea mentioned, like, one of the best things about entering the market when we did is that we were all kind of on the ground floor of the, just trajectory of growth that's happened in this area. So being able to kind of grow as businesses near each other in somewhat the same category of, just specialty beverage, it's been really neat to obviously see the success that Onyx has had and the attention that it brings to our area. It's really a big draw to not only the brewery, but people will hit downtown Rogers in the morning, hit up Onyx, spend the day at some of the parks or bike trails, end their day with us. So it really bookends really nicely with our business models. When we moved to Arkansas in 2010, there were 3 breweries in the entire state. We chose it strategically because we felt the market was obviously very primed. People were moving here. Quality of life here is off the charts. Being somewhere where you can build something and not have as much competition, but also get to collaborate more on the culinary side. And with specialty producers like Onyx, it's pretty lucky.
Part of those collaborations is that you host an event in Northwest Arkansas each year.
Yeah, so Rituals, we wanted to have a beer festival. We didn't want it to be the normal beer festival where everyone's in a tent or a big arena and it's loud and there's a bunch of tables and you have small samples and you stand in line and people end up fairly intoxicated by the end. We wanted to focus more on the specialty side. Rituals was obviously brought about by the morning ritual of making coffee and, finishing your day with a beer. So we called in a bunch of favors from folks all over the country that we know from the industry and a lot of coffee beers shipped in, or beers with coffee notes. And then Onyx helped us on the roaster side with obviously all of their connections and people they've built relationships with. And so we had a really amazing lineup of coffee roasters and brewers from around the country, specialty coffee pulls, people making coffee cocktails. I think a lot of people think coffee and beer is a stout with cold brew, which obviously is what we do, but it can obviously be so much more.
What really inspires you when you're looking at a new combination of flavors?
As a drinker, I'm a pretty classic guy. I could drink American Pale Ales, dry farmhouse beers, and classic Pilsners all day long. I think that when we've done some things that are a bit off the map, it's always taking a classic style that people know quite a bit about or seems very approachable and trying to find something different that we can accentuate or, surprise them a little bit and make it a bit different. So we actually did a dry hopped lager with some of Onyx's coffee. It has big, bright coffee notes, but still has that crisp, dry finish. So trying to find ways to integrate coffee into things where it's going to give people a different perspective they might not have thought about.
Bill and Fergal, I'm gonna loop you guys in. Same question. What are your inspirations when it comes to creating new flavors and collaboration? Let's start with you, Bill.
I kind of like to look at it from the consumer perspective. You're bringing together two audiences. The coffee fans understand and love the flavors of coffee. The beer fans understand the beer flavors. And you have a tremendous opportunity to intersect these flavors and give people a completely new experience and a new lens to appreciate either or both of the products through. So for instance, our first coffee foray was Victory Village. It was a brown ale fermented with the very fruity Fuller's Brewery yeast. And we selected beans that were mostly on the light roast and fruity side of things that originated in Ethiopia. And then for Java Cask, which is our ongoing project, we work with a darker, earthier roast from one village in order to contribute to a stout with a bourbon barrel finish.
Fergal, and when it comes to crafting new flavors and collaborations, how do you tackle that?
Yeah, listen, look, the whole business of brewing and in the craft world is innovative and creative. That's what makes the industry so phenomenal. You can try anything. I think it's amazing that you can be so innovative. There's very few products categories around the world at any level that you can actually open the door to anything to go into it, natural ingredients type thing, and processes. As long as your brewing capability and your manufacturing capability delivers a quality product and you actually can get value from it, some of these types of operations can be very costly.
I think that's a great point, Fergal. And, at the end of the day, these are businesses. And what I found really interesting about Victory Beer with Bill is that they formed an alliance called the Artisanal Brewing Ventures. Maybe, Bill, you can tell us a little bit more about that. It's less competitive and more collaborative.
Yeah, I mean, craft beer was a wonderful little fishbowl full of folks who got together frequently and understood one another, and then it got infiltrated by the world's largest brewers. We saw an opportunity to sort of pull together and consolidate some of our best friends. And when you put like-minded people together, you can still continue to be a thumb in the eye at the world's largest forces.
And both have a place, and both do quite, build a category. But the excitement area that comes from the smaller independent groups, the collaboration groups that Bill has, and each individual's breweries like the Andes and Ozark, I mean, that's where the excitement is. That's what the passion comes from. And that's what makes it an extraordinary business to be part of. There's nothing like it. It's just beyond cool when you're involved with people who have that knowledge and passion. And I'm hearing that from Andrea. And she talks about the coffee thing as well. It's just that's extraordinary. You don't get that anywhere in a big organization.
And also in light of the current situation, the new normal that we're all living in, what are some of the other trends that you are seeing in your travels around the world and consulting on various projects for this industry, but any other related industry?
Well, this is where this is going to sort a few people out with regards to their business models, unfortunately. But on the positive side, I think out of the journey we're on at the moment, there's going to be extraordinary opportunity as well. I think the legislative groups around the world need to all get their act together, because I think the licensing situation in all these parts of the world is just so dated. It needs to be reviewed. I think they should come to us and actually ask some questions about how we have done things already that have been extraordinarily interesting on the environmental front. And I think that's a journey that we could be on.
Bill, this is a great time for you to tell us a little bit more about Letting the Monkeys Out and how you see Victory Beer really being able to connect through your customers.
The Monkeys, or Release the Monkeys, celebrates our two top performing beers, our Golden Monkey, a Belgian style triple brewed here right in the United States, of course, and Sour Monkey. These are really strong sellers for us. They have really fervent audiences for them. And we figured 2020 being an election year that, you know, the news and everything was going to be rather heavy. So we figured we would build a campaign that was lighthearted and focused on entertainment and humor. And we built a comedy tour. All of that a malicious single-celled organism destroyed. Whereas brewer's yeast, of course, creates all this fun. COVID-19 took away that opportunity. So we got it right that it was going to be a heavy year for sure, but we didn't feel like going forward with the planned events was the responsible thing either, because they involved congregation. So we're on hold for how we celebrate the Monkeys. They are not really released, I guess, at this point, but they are readily available for everyone to enjoy in the safe confines of their own small groups. We create these beverages that add to the social experiences that people are naturally drawn to.
You mentioned earlier, just before the call, actually, about releasing a new branding or a new packaging for some of your products. Is this another way for you to connect or reconnect or connect better with your consumer in a similar fashion?
One of the things with the new packaging that has been very close-minded with that concept is that the consumer should be able to buy our coffee and trust the ethics behind it, and also that goes over into sustainability as well. So all of the packaging that we just released is biodegradable or completely recyclable. Even like the overlay on the box can go through a paper mill. So we've been working on this packaging concept for 18 months. It's really about design. It's about wow. It's about touch. Really, since we started our company, like everything has trended onto social media. Like on social media, you can take a picture of something, anything, and you can make it look amazing, right? Like you can put filters on it, you can edit it, you can do all of this stuff. You can almost like fake it, you know, but what you can't fake is when you're actually holding something in your hand. Like you can't fake the way that feels. It is like the medium through which human connection happens. And so, you know, that looks different right now, but it's still is happening, and it's happening on a really broad scale, just at people's homes.
Thinking back to Guinness and how iconic that brand is, and thinking back to some of the TV advertising that Guinness had done, for me, I could almost taste the Guinness just by watching an ad, even if the ad had nothing to do with beer. It was about an old Italian guy swimming in the ocean, and he had a fantastic pint of Guinness at the end of that swim. I think Guinness have really nailed how to convey that experience of drinking a beer without you actually having the product in your hand. In your new role as a consultant, how involved are you in that process?
What you have with small independent groups is you have extraordinary entrepreneurial passion. That trumps marketing strategies every time. Now, there's marketing science that can help in the context of how you promote your brand and how you get people aware of it. I think then it's the people you're with in those organizations and how they build your reputation. And I think that's fundamental. It's going to happen now when people try to come back from where they have been and the disappointment of, you know, the business being tough. Show those values and talk about those values, represent them.
What advice would you have for people that are looking to break into the beverage industry specifically right now, which obviously is a very tough time?
You've got to be extraordinary understanding of your numbers, your costs at the current moment. It's even more and more important. Being running a brewery or owning a brewery and running a brand and delivering a brand isn't a cheap exercise. You really got to understand it. Are you in it to have a profitable business, or in it to enjoy it because you can enjoy it and you don't have to worry about the money? Or are you in it because everything else you've tried you're not really happy with, so you might as well try something else? All three need to have an understanding of how it's going to work from a business point of view.
Have a vision and have an identity. Consumers are drawn to that. People that have a plan about what they want to do, about how they want people to feel when they walk inside a business, or how they want them to feel when they're interacting with their products. Another piece of advice is to work in the industry that you want to get into first. You know, if you want to produce like really high-end craft beer, you probably should know how to do that, you know, or if you want to make really nice coffee, working in the industry and just like learning what's already out there. Last quick piece is just to surround yourself with people that complement your skill sets, finances and budgets and spreadsheets and, you know, things like that. If you're not minded to make those things, find someone to help that has that as their like passion and skill set.
Here at Ozark Beer, we run pretty lean overall. For the amount of beer we produce, our staff is pretty bare bones, but we're able to do that because we've assembled what we feel are obviously the right people. We've tried to do as much as we can in terms of we pay 100% health insurance for our full-time employees, and we pay people way above industry standards, and we've been able to attract and keep really, really awesome people on both the production and logistics and office side. If you're specifically trying to get into brewing, and most people, like I, start on the packaging line or start, you know, at the bottom of the chain and learn every task and job in a production brewery. One of the biggest things you can do is bring something to the table in terms of mechanical experience, plumbing, electrical, something that you just can be an extra resource of how can I help fix something? How can I problem solve better? We have a slogan here, it's hard work, honest beer, and we try to live by that every day.
Victory Beer started on a school bus in the 5th grade, I think. If you could go back and speak to those two 10-year-olds, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them not to do anything differently. We've managed
Great.
to have a whole lot of fun doing the things that we love, gathering fantastic people around us to participate. Advice to entrepreneurs, whether they're 10 years old or 57 years old, though your ambitions may be global, that's fine. Focus on your community. It's the people walking in your door on day one that are going to give you opinions and participate with you and build your next opportunity. So don't assume too much. Pay attention to the people closest to you, and they'll lead you to success.
We have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to go to some questions that we've had come in. Onyx has received tons of awards for your coffee and collaborations. Do you use your coffee to make other things like cocktails or recipes?
I have to admit here, I'm a relative purist, so I usually like drink coffee and then drink cocktails and don't mix them. But we have a drink on our menu right now that's really great. It's called the FOMO, and it's like our Monarch Espresso, vanilla. It's a warm drink, so it's like about this tall, and then we shake heavy cream and coconut cream and layer it on the top, and then there's like an unsweetened cocoa powder right on the top, and that is really amazing. And then it's even better when you put some rum in it. So I'm relatively into that right now. The drink is like really, really good.
Andy, does Ozark Beer have any plans to grow outside of Arkansas to any other parts of the country?
Kind of in our back pocket for a long time. Obviously, the brand Ozark is obviously a geographic region that spans multiple states. From us, if you just draw a big circle, we hit a lot of different geography, different cultures, obviously, and different places that we think our beer can do well. We don't really have many more plans of growth outside that region.
This is a question that's just come in. What brands have you found that are the most sustainable? And also, how can brands become more sustainable?
So anybody that is in manufacturing, they have to figure out how to make sure that they don't have any waste. And if they do, they have to use it then in a way that isn't going to be wasteful. There's so much out there at the moment to help. And it's really trying to figure out how those new technologies can help you, can make it more efficient in your own processes. If you have the time, the problem I think with a lot of us in small industries is we don't have the time to put into that area. We'd love to, but we need experts who know something about it to come in and say, listen, I can help you be that way, because what Andy and Bill will know, they've no time for maybe investigating some of these new ways of doing things, or new ways of using water, or new ways of capturing the CO2 to be reused. What you've got to do is ensure that your consumers recognize that you're trying as best you can to follow those values and those ethics and put something back if you're taking it out.
We have just time for one more question. This is for everyone. It's a quick fire round, so be ready. I want to know what your favorite beer or coffee is. Let's start with Bill.
Oh boy, I hope I would disappoint anybody because I haven't had the fine products that are represented on here, but my own Prima Pils is just so refreshing, so satisfying. We're very, very proud of what we created there, and it just makes me happy to enjoy it.
Gotcha. Andy?
I'd say obviously my coffee is the house blend from Onyx. That's my daily drinker. For beers, I'd have to go back to Chicago these days, and whenever anybody's bringing beer this direction, the Daisy Cutter from Half Acre is out of this world.
Cool. I know there's a great name. Andrea?
I mean, not to be generic, but I like the house blend from Onyx as well. Me and Andy were on the same path. And then, I mean, to take it a step further, the coffee stout that we do with Ozark is one of my favorite beers. So I'm, a homegrown girl, keeping it close. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Fergal, what's your favorite?
It's all beers. There's so many great beers and there's so many great coffees out there. I think it's how you consume them and the experience you have wherever you are is what it's all about. A pint of something in the wrong place at the wrong time, a cup of coffee in the wrong place at the wrong time, but then to have it the right place at the right time, it really is the best opportunity, no matter what it is.
Great point, Fergal. And it's all about timing. And with that in mind, it's time for us to wrap up. We have just a couple of seconds left. So I want to really thank everybody that took part today, all the panelists, Andy, Bill, Andrea, Fergal, as well as the team at Participation Agency.
Yeah, good job, everybody. Yeah, brilliant.
This was fantastic. And please follow the You Love series on Eventbrite. So thank you very much once again, and go and enjoy a fantastic beverage.
Cheers.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Cheers.
Nice.